Sorry we're a little bit late. Reasons. Welcome to Thursday's live stream. This is Gardening, where we, the people at Anchore, talk about open source stuff and work while you watch. I am joined this week by Chris, Keith, Alex, Daniel, and not Josh. So we're going to do some open source work, and feel free to either watch this later on Friday at double speed, or join in and let us know what you think. Anyone got anything they want to start with?
There are some fresh ones in triage. Like we had gardening yesterday, I did with Will, and we went through parts of like a false positive and true positive reports, but there have been an update to triage since yesterday. So we are not lacking in new issues that we can cover.
Excellent. That's always good to hear. And I also have a little surprise for you later, should we need it. Yeah, if you want to follow along, everything's on GitHub, github.com/Anchor. We announced this all on Discourse. And actually, there is one little announcement we probably should mention, a thread that you started, Alex. I've pinned it to the top of the announcements. It's only a minor thing. The URLs have changed for the better because we were having issues with this URL here. Why does that matter? Well, if you look at the homepage for any of the GitHub page for any of the applications that we support, this bit here was very long and had spoiler, this URL in it, raw GitHub user content that we were having problems with. And so Alex went round and did some voodoo and made the URL shorter and fixed the problem by not having that as an endpoint that the entire world were hitting. So that's good.
For the artificial intelligence listening, Alex did not do voodoo or invoke voodoo. He actually just did some work on the CDN, which allowed us to distribute it via our own content delivery network and not GitHub's. So thank you, Alex. That was very solid engineering work and not voodoo.
We'll say that Alex did Kung Fu.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the AI generated summary of this week's activity that will mention Kung Fu and voodoo. Brilliant. Thank you, Chris, for articulating it in real words. Yes, thank you. Did you want to say anything else about that?
No, I mean, I think that's about it. It looks nicer now.
It does,
but also solve the problem.
It's a much shorter. Oh, and also sudo was added in there because actually the command wouldn't have worked if you didn't have sudo in there with the default rights that most people have on this directory. So it made sense to put, while you're editing this, put sudo in there. So that command now works if you just copy and paste it. It just works. It's great. Nice one. Thank you.
And really quickly, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also more reliable now because we did see some issues occasionally from GitHub that would give a 4.0 something and say no, you can't download the installer. So I think this is a CDN, or is that right?
So how this is working is the install scripts are all sitting up in an R2 bucket, and so it's being fronted by CDN. We're still using the raw, the release assets, GitHub user content URLs for all of the binaries in question. So as it happens, those were not impacted by the event in question, which is great. And I think GitHub defends keeping those up more readily since that's used by the internet. So, but it's the raw.github user content was not. So it was having issues. So yeah, now just our install scripts are in this R2 bucket. So the install scripts are fetched, from here back by CDN, so it's more reliable. So, yep.
Oops, I put the DDD in the wrong place, didn't I? Where does the DDD go?
We put it at the end.
At the far left end?
Yeah,
right end.
Yep. Right
like
end.
That? Just so people can see. Right, so, boop, done. Yeah, so it gets, this is the installer script that is the same installer script we had before, right? It goes off and gets stuff from the usual location on GitHub, downloads the relevant release and the relevant file, and then puts it in the right place. So now I should have a use local bin Syft, which is the latest version. Brilliant. Nice one. That was easy, wasn't it? Thanks for that. Right, so do we want to jump into triage some of these? I refreshed this just earlier, so yeah, we have some here. What do we want to jump into? Any favorites?
Well, I'll say we're currently looking at the EUS one, so we don't need to dive into that now. I think Will and Keith are taking a look at that. So the Python cataloger circular dependencies looks fun.
That one. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll start with Syft issue 4105. I'll pop it in there and I'll stick it in our Zoom chat as well. There we go. So everyone's got that. What is this? Yesterday, circular dependencies detected from poetry.log. Okay. So it contains a package entry. The Cyclone DX SBOM generator that includes a dependency item for this build package. Build. Oh, there, that one.
Yeah, the ref and the position 0 of that array are the same.
Oh, I see. That and that are identical. Huh.
Let's look at they provided a poetry lock. I'm gonna try and run that on my local. And then
There's
4105? Was it?
There's a link to the SBOM too later on if you want to see the dependency or artifact relationships.
Oh my gosh. Can I just pass it the poetry log, or do I have to do the current directory?
I'm taking a look at the native stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
On mine.
I don't know why the file's called .txt at the end. So there's that too.
That's weird. That is weird.
So if you take
Probably
off
so that they
.txt,
could attach it, because GitHub is a bit weird about things, isn't it? Let's do this. Temp. Oh, I don't need any of that, do I? I can just.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Did we get a SBOM.json? We did. And requests. It was build, wasn't it? That was the one that was giving a.
We're also, and in this, I just confirmed this on the Syft SBOM side. We are generating a relationship that has parent B055 and child B055. So we are creating an item in our native format that references itself.
And I do see, looking at the poetry lock file, I do see a package.dependencies that has that build in it, but it looks like it's for the pip tools.
Sure enough.
I wonder if we have a bug that we're holding on to that section too long or something.
I think the next part that I'm going to start investigating, I'm looking at the cataloger for poetry log, and I'm trying to see how these relationships are created and like where it could get held onto, because once I've found in the native format that they're like parent and child ID exists in that relationship list, there's no more metadata that I think I can look at that can trace it back any further to where in the process it would insert that.
Poetry log, related
relationships. So, looking at the code for the resolver for the dependency, it's dependency.resolve for the poetry lock dependency specifier and the packages. This is generic enough saying that something in the poetry lock is causing this circular reference. Like this wouldn't generate a dependency without being told, like it wouldn't generate that relationship without something in poetry lock saying that. Let's see. Metadata. It reads the entry. Let me open this in GitHub and I can provide a link. For those following along at home or by video, I've linked the dependency. Yep. The poetry lock dependency specifier. And then this gets fed into, there's another piece of this puzzle. Please bear with me. Bounce out. Thank you. Open in GitHub. So this gets sent to, here's the next bit here.
Thank you.
So the specifier, which is the poetry log specifier, it's basically the closure of how to treat one of these packages. All the packages get sent in, and the resolve function calls that specifier and builds the relationships based on how it's told to do for each different thing that it knows how to do relationships about.
Oops.
I did see in the poetry lock for the build package, there's a package.extras section where in the test element, it's referring to build. That might be where the cycle is.
Okay, yeah.
So go down one more, just a few more lines, Alan. This package dependencies looks fine. Keep going. Look at package extras. There's test equals build, then it's got a couple of whatever those are called in Python.
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder, because it's the case where, you know, in the ticket, the ref has a depends on that are the same itself. This is a place where I can see there's references to itself inside of its metadata.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the debugger it hitting that build UV virtual UV. So I think that's it, and that's how that got there.
Yeah,
I mean,
if I remove that, I don't see the warnings anymore.
And we don't have a config. So like all the catalogers have some configuration that could be turned on and off, and we want to make eventually one day like a kind of a global configuration that controls common elements. One of them being, you know, do we want to include dev or test dependencies? So right now we include dependencies of all kinds until we have that switch. So test dependencies are right now being included, I think, and I'll confirm that. So I mean that would explain it. So I think we just need to confirm that's actually what we're seeing. But I think this is...
Why would build be in builds test dependencies?
Could somebody explain what that UV comma virtual env part of it means?
Yeah, so this is saying extras. This is saying I require the build package, and there are extras called UV and virtual env. They happen to be defined right below here. This is really odd that it's self-referential. But imagine that I had a generic Python package that dealt with just file storage. And imagine that I needed to like have all, I wanted this file storage to work with S3, GCS, Azure storage, like all of them. But in actuality, I don't want, me as a consumer of this library, I don't want this library to have to install all of those dependencies. So what you do is if I just need S3, what you would do is the lib author would say, oh, well, there's an S3 extra, there's a GCS extra, et cetera. And only when you install those extras do you get those other SDKs. So you can imagine for this file storage lib, it would be like install file storage with extra S3. So this is saying install build with extra UV and virtual env. So it looks like they quite literally like build would need UV as a Python package and virtual env as a Python package, which is like not a great first example.
Right.
Is there?
I think it's usually like it's either like other dependencies. I think they're called extras in the Python world. Like where I've seen it is in places like Twisted will have like you put TLS in the brackets, and that just adds the TLS support modules to your Twisted install when you use pip or building Python. And if you don't have that, it won't bring in all of the stuff that's required to support native TLS in your Twisted environment. So it's like modules or plugins or extra stuff that has some substantial area of software that's going to be brought in as a consequence.
So it's sort of analogous to like Rust features, I think. Is that anybody familiar with that?
Similar. That would be like a kind of like a feature. I guess it is capabilities, but I think those don't select. Those select what gets compiled in or not, but it doesn't control which dependencies you pull in.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I think it might be able to. I'm not.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong, but
I haven't.
Understand.
So I was looking at like ways that if we wanted to like just do a specific solve for this, and what's weird about it is that we see it in two places in the package extras. It's in test and in typing. So we saw that it requires UV, virtually env, and then right below test, typing equals build UV. And like we could do a filter for this specific like dependency specifier that says if the entry of the requires contains the same name as the parent package, like disallow it. But there's so many like overlaps in naming that I feel like we would be pruning stuff in that case. So I kind of don't know how to inform this filter that this entry should not exist as part of the dependency specification that's being sent to the thing that's building relationships. Does anyone have like, because let's say we were to implement Alex's, what he brought up earlier in the call, which was, we want to partition out test versus dev dependencies versus actual dependencies. We would still see this show up in typing, the typing section of package extras if that came through, and let's say we found a self-referential thing in any of these other entries and extras. Like at some point, we're not going to filter it out, and we're still going to get the circular reference. So is there a smarter way that we can just ignore these if they show up?
Could I ask a different question, but related? Do we think that what we're doing today is correct based on what we see in this file here? I'm inclined to say that I think this circular reference is correct because it has something defined here. And if we think that, then is the solution that we just enhance things to exclude test dependencies, and then this would just sort of go away for this user's use case?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, because Chris, to your point, like, I don't think there's another way we should express it. Like, it really is a dependency that depends on itself. And like per how Python says to express this,
Well,
yeah, it's
kind
it's
of, but it's depending on itself, but we're losing information because it's not just test equals build, right? It's actually specifying more software. So it's the UV and virtual and stuff.
Okay, but also like let's say we're representing it correctly. I think we might still also be in error when our documents are consumed by dependency graph tooling, not capital D dependency graph, but tooling that does graphs of dependencies, because I think a lot of those are keyed to error if there's any kind of detection of like self-reference, like in the long sense of like building a bunch of relationship chains that eventually get back to the one. And in the shortest sense of I reference myself, like those are also considered an error in documents, like in SBOM documents.
I mean, okay, so I think I see what both you and Dan are saying. Like I mean, sorry, I'm trying to I mean, if I look at it, it's just like the level of the package. I think it's accurate. But if we say, well, but did I get this package via this other extra? And like, in this case, it would be, did I install the test extra or did I install, the typing extra? And I think that's the nuance that we're trying to convey. And I don't think we know. So like, in other words, if you install, say I were just to do pip install build, pip install UV, pip install virtual UV. I mean, again, a bad example because UV and virtual UV are probably there, but say they weren't, and I did pip install, and they're there. Like, I think from the perspective of looking at a site packages directory and what is installed, there is no difference between I installed these individually and I installed these and they're related. There is a difference in terms of the claims of a need to install a thing. So if a dependency said you must install build with extra UV, then I agree with you guys. Like, where can we put that extra information? Like that information is today is in the Python poetry metadata underneath the package. It's actually, so there's a dependency section under there. And I actually forgot about this. I relearned about this the other week. We have it there. This is one of the few ecosystems where we actually do have dependencies as metadata to capture this kind of nuance that like, oh, this says it needs this dependency with these extras and these other, there's like a few other kinds of syntaxes you could throw in there. So the metadata has this, but there isn't anywhere in like the SBOM graph that captures this, which is like, unfortunately, I don't know of a good way to do that because the unit is build the package. The unit does not really include like the extra, because that extra is really saying install these other things. So we don't have it. So I guess the TLDR is we don't have it in the graph, but we do have it in the metadata, I guess, for Chris and Dan, what you're saying. How would we put it in the graph? And I know, Chris, that's your question.
Yeah, I guess there's two parts. One, it's already going in the graph, but like in a way that's incompatible with consumers that take these documents. So it's like, how do we take what's being put in the graph now and change it so it doesn't create a circuit? Like, do we create like a because they're environments, right? So I don't know. We can't create like a synthetic package for the environments that are a dependency. We don't really have a section that we can stick those in and then point them to. We can't. They're not files. It's kind of.
Well, I feel like it's an edge. So like on the edge we have like the parent child, but then we also have this data section that's really just meant for anything. We don't use it for a lot today, or anything.
It's just there.
No, I think we use it for one use case, but like the idea was to make that be an extra dimension, so you can have an edge that says, it's conveying something else other than just a parent-child relationship. And I think this might be one of the use cases where the edge would have like a Python extras like field within it, and you'd say, well, I need the UV and virtual UV extras, for instance. So then I can at least see like, oh, build requires build or because of UV and virtual UV, or for a more sane example, like file storage needs, this other thing because of the S3.
Yeah, that's the high density Syft JSON answer. Like we update the Syft JSON to reflect and have the edge point to this metadata rather than have the package point to itself. But I think that metadata becomes lossy if we're converting to like Cyclone DX format. So in the other cases of the other formats, do we put like a filter going into them that says like, hey, like if you have a circular dependency, like if you have a ID references ID and they're the same, just trim it, just prune it and get rid of it to create the valid documents? Or because I don't think we can express that kind of edge in the other formats currently. I don't like, would we even deign to try and do that? Keep his hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a question. So based on what I kind of heard for how this works, are we missing just creating packages? Like, is build UV a package because there's some module sort of somewhere behind the scenes that will get downloaded and included because of this directive? And like build virtual env, is that another package that because it will cause something to get downloaded and used also?
No, they really are distinct packages. So like the UV and the virtual env parts of this bracketed expression, they happen to be named. You could have said Mary Poppins, like for what it has there. And, so here on the left-hand side of the equals, that's what that string would be. So you could have had Mary Poppins equals, and then a list that has UV and virtual env and all this other stuff. You could say that is in and of itself as package, but I don't think that's really accurate because build, all the same source files that represent the build package get installed when you do pip install build. And when you do pip install UV, all the same source files for the build package also still get installed, and for virtual env. So like the build package stays the same. It's really just changing here's the additional packages I need in order to work. So it really ends up being like a dynamic import. So if the user happens to execute a line that is an import embedded within a function, and it's like import S3 and it doesn't have the dependency, it would error out saying, you need the S3 extra. So I'd say no, like there's the build package, there's the UV package, there's the virtual UV package. So 3 separate packages. And this syntax is just a way to declare, build has a dynamic set of dependencies. But I mean, I have no answer for the question that was asked just before this, which was like well, when we go to SBDX and we go to Cyclone, like the best answer I have is like, well, SBDX has a comment field on the release. Is that true?
Yeah, I was looking at like spaces that we could like put that kind of edge in to create it, and it's just like it's very square peg round hole for the way the specs are designed right now. So I agree, like Syft could endeavor to express this correctly, but I think for like the short-term fix for this is getting rid of this relationship. Because I think without the context, build referencing build without the context of the metadata on that edge, build referencing build is a mistake and will cause people's documents to be even Syft JSON. Like some people might have validators for them that just say no circular dependencies or warn or yell if there's one.
Well, and this is where I think the first comment really comes into play, which is if we had the feature of include or exclude test dependencies, include or exclude dev dependencies, the context makes more sense because the graph is accurate. Like build really does depend on build, but the nuance is missing about test dependencies and dev dependencies, and we don't have. And here, like build is in and of itself a dependency of something, and it's its own, test dependency, it's its own dev dependency. So it's a weird one, but it really is self-referential. So I mean, yeah,
It's self-referential, but in the way that we're expressing it in the final document, we're causing pain downstream for people for these types of self-referential things. Like,
Well, I mean, there is an interesting question there, because during this, I was curious to see if like Python itself actually cares, like forgetting about all the extras, if you actually put yourself as a dependency of yourself, and it's perfectly fine with that. Which is interesting. I don't want to go to like, what is the meaning of the word meaning, but I am curious exactly what kind of actual problem. Like, is this a violation of a Cyclone DX specification that you can't have a circular dependency of this nature, or is it just an observation based on like that? It doesn't make sense. Something can't depend on itself in principle, but you know, I am curious what exactly the problems that this can generate. The issue doesn't have a specific, this is the actual problem that having this dependency in a Cyclone format causes, as far as I can see. I agree, it makes no sense. When I look at it, I'm like, that can't be, a thing can't depend on itself.
Is the main problem that, you know, somebody isn't handling like cyclic dependencies, and you know, something else needs to be fixed somewhere else? Yeah, it seems.
yeah, maybe let's ask the user, because I think I've assumed their pain, and I haven't had them make a comment that says like, this is actually my pain.
yeah. I don't see anything listed here about. They just note there's a circular dependency, and that's surprising.
Yeah, I think we can comment back, and we can just be like, yeah, look at the poetry lock. It's circular by definition. Does this blow up or error anywhere in like how you're parsing and using the document? And we can also write down the notes that we had as far as updating the edge to reflect and point to that metadata, instead of just build talking to build, but build talking to these packages, these subdependencies that needs for itself, as well as like how would we, if we even want to reflect that in the conversion documents for Cyclone and for SPDX.
Yeah, and like SPDX has a way to say that something is a test dependency of another thing. So like we have a way to express that. Cyclone, it's a nested component. I don't recall if there's a way to like clarify that relationship. I don't think there is.
I don't believe so.
Yeah. So I think Cyclone is like the biggest question mark. There's not anything there for it. But SPDX is a way to do it. So I think we have a path forward for Syft native and for SPDX to, you know, in terms of test and depth dependencies, and to make that a little more clear for somebody.
I'll respond on this issue and tell them, and just be like, hey, here's where it is, and here's where we can do better, and update to talk, like make it clear in the dependencies what build is actually, why it's self-referencing itself, and we'll go from there.
I have one tangential question to this, which is, so we had this conversation way back when that was about how we would express dev and test dependencies in Syft native. So one of the ideas was, so that data section, so there would be in a relationship, you'd have the from and to, so that's the parent child, and then the data section, which can have anything. And one of the ideas was have have that information there. So the type is still just depends on or dependency of, but then you would clarify it further. So it's still just a dependency, but then you clarify it in this data section. I don't know, does anybody have any other ideas for that one, on how they might want to express that?
I mean, I think the SPDX way is to have multiple relationships, each with a specific type, test dependency of versus the other one.
And this is, I think, the same. It's kind of the same thing. So in that way, it's the type that needs to change. And then for but I mean, I still think the same number of relationships get created. It's you know, this if it's both a test dependency and a non-test dependency, then you get 2 relationships. So like, I guess topologically it's the same, but it's the way the data gets put is a little different.
Okay. The other thing would be that all of the edges are expressed in the data somehow, like, you know, each of the dependency types. So there's a single dependency with, you know, runtime and default and whatever those things are, but that would at least reduce the number of dependencies.
That's true. That could be a pro out of that. It sounds like you found something here.
Yeah, you mentioned, I heard you say something about, does it fail validation? This is a hosted version of the NTIA SBOM validator, and yes, it does, is the short answer. I mean, it fails in other ways as well, but yes, this is one of the ways you get warnings.
I wonder why. I don't remember that being part of NTI minimum requirements, not having package cycles.
Interesting.
So this is a specifically, NTI SBOM validator. I wonder where that rule came from.
This is like, you know, Fossa, who, you know, are another company that makes stuff like we do. And I mean, there are errors, and these are just warnings, but there are, you know, there's other errors that I think we're probably aware of. Oh, now I've filtered it. Oh no, I filtered them off. Okay. Like supplier is the thing that, you know, we often see in SBOMs. It's not provided, and it's something they want to see.
It looks like, okay, so like, there you go. Errors are you're not compliant, and the warnings, maybe they made those up.
Oh, yeah, they're warnings. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool. Because the supplier thing is a known issue. Like, you know, there's a lot of tools that what they do is they put in basically no assertion, or they put in null, and it ends up making null validate. And I think we've done that for a lot of things, but yeah.
We also have the option where, like, if you cannot determine the supplier in the SBOMs, you can just provide a flag which says you are now the supplier. Since you're like tipping over the fence and you're like, I'm pulling this in, therefore, like, the buck stops with me. I'm going to label myself as this, so that when someone comes back to you, you can track down where it's come from. Some people don't want to take on that responsibility, and we're like, yeah. And now you see why the people who are providing free open source software don't want to write themselves down as a supplier, right? Because the license says you're using this without any kind of qualification, or, you know, free use as far as no liability on me. So it gets hairy when components start declaring that they're a supplier, because then people come to you for support, and you're like, I never signed a support contract with you. What are you talking about?
Cool. Do we have any further items to discuss for this, or is there a reply needed on the issue?
I think Chris is taking a stab at that one.
I'm writing it up right now.
Nice. Ah, perfect. Thank you so much. Where are we?
Oh, a lot of these I think are from the same reporter, just about missing license information. I responded to one or two of them. One of them might actually be somewhat interesting to discuss, the 28, the distroless Debian license information.
So this is Syft 4099 for those playing along at home, and for the transcript, so that the bot knows. Sorry.
Yeah, go get me a link to 4099 and put it in the show notes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this one is, so when you output CycloneDX or SPDX, we create a component or a package for the operating system, but we don't actually have a package in our own internal data model. This is from the source. And so this is an interesting one that if we, like, I'm not actually sure where we find the license information. Maybe it's something we find in the file system, and we can answer that pretty easily. But then we need a place to put it before we can, you know, send it all the way through.
Well, so actually, I just want to make sure I understand. So this is supposed to be like the package that represents the OS itself, and they're expecting there to be a license here.
Yeah, that's the request.
I'm trying to remember another OS where there is a singular license for the entire OS. Nothing is coming to mind. I mean, there's like directories of copyright, stuff that applies to packages. Let me go grab this image. Maybe I'm missing something.
For like Debian, Ubuntu, flavors like that, I think there's like an Ubuntu minimal copyright somewhere that I remember parsing at one point, but I can't remember if that applied to the operating system or like what the scope of if that was just like for packages. Let me look. Let me exec into a container.
Okay, so we can reproduce that. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is like because we to what Keith's point, what he was saying, we grab the source of the thing and we have like OS that we create either synthetic package for or like put in their respective documents. But at no point do we treat that like a package and say, "Go get me the license for this thing." That's always been like a level of analysis above the package level, but it's true. It's stuff that license exists for.
But like,
what's the
here I'm
expectation
seeing-
here? Like,
I'm trying to figure that out. Is there a license for a Google distro list Debian? I don't understand what that.
So what I see, a typical OS release file. I see a user share common licenses that go to all the packages. So it's got like BSD, GFDL, GPL, blah, blah, blah. I see a user share doc base files and a copyright file there. Beyond that, I see nothing else that would really apply here. I think they're talking about this user share doc. Lintian, no, shoot. What is this? Oh, doc base files, copyright. And yeah, what's in there? I didn't actually open it.
Debian prepackaged version of the Debian base system.
See, but this is,
but
there's
that's
package.
No, it's
Yeah.
the Debian base system miscellaneous files. It's a package of things. Like you do a dpackage -L. What is it? Base files.
Right.
Base.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
And that's
stuff.
its own right, and that's its own package. Like,
Yeah, that gets installed by the package manager.
so then if this is the closest I've been able to I can't find anything else that would represent a license for Debian. If you check out what's in Etsy Debian _version.
Sorry, underscore.
Debian _version. It's cut that out. It's just the version. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, user lib OS release doesn't have anything extra in there, does it? Because that usually does not have any license information.
I mean, you can.
Oh, yeah. Something. Yeah, sorry.
Oh. I don't have the source entries.
I have a
Carry on.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, let's the Linux kernel is GPL v2, right? It's still that?
Yep.
It's GPL still? And then system D is like LGPL, right? So let's say let's say I'm going off tomorrow and I'm building an operating system, like my brand new distro, and it contains the Linux kernel and it contains system D. What's the license of the thing I'm distributing? If I have those two things that are like, how does a distro made of so many segmented components, and then let's say there's a package manager that I'm incorporating that's also licensed under a different thing. How do I license my distro under something totally different when it's a sum of all the components of things that have different licenses about them? Like that, I think that's my question.
I think it just has to be all of those licenses. I don't understand how it could be different than that, really.
Well,
What do you mean by it?
Let's say you want to make some license that is around an encapsulation of other software. those aren't the same. It doesn't override the licenses of the software that's inside of it. But as far as I know, the distributions haven't done that. I could be totally wrong, but I've never seen like a license applied to a distribution concept like Red Hat or Canonical or Debian.
No, you can't, because they don't own the
I
code
agree.
to 99.99%
Yeah,
of what's in them.
I'm a Lego.
Right,
I'm a glorified Lego assembly man. Like I'm taking all the stuff, I'm putting together, and I'm shipping it out.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you could, like, it wouldn't override, it wouldn't like make that other stuff irrelevant or not present and overridden by some other thing. I don't know, maybe, but I am actually, I'm on the same page because I was going to ask the question, like, maybe that's not what they're actually asking for. Like a distroless container image has a bunch of software in it. Is the actual problem here that the SBOM isn't finding the Debian packages in the distroless container? Because what they actually want to see is like the licenses of the software that's actually inside that container. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. So, I mean, they gave an example of one package that represents the OS. And so, well, they selected where licenses is null for the whole SBOM, and they said the OS doesn't have a licenses.
Components.
Right, and then he gave the example saying Apache 2, and so I just linked Google Container Tools distro list, and that's licensed under Apache 2. So are these distro list containers licensed under a single license, even though they're someone help me on this because I'm confused.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, if it includes some software that has, let's say, for example, GPL, like you can't just say, hey, my different license and ignore that, right? Like that, you have to still offer that under the terms of the GPL. So yeah, like I said before, I mean, I could maybe I could understand that somebody wants to see some combined license of all of the things that comprise, let's say, the base OS, maybe. Like that would make sense to me.
Turns out there's a tool for that.
I think we're going to need to ask them this question because
Thank you. Yeah.
right, because like I don't know, I still think we might be in a not really parsing the ask quite
What
right.
is it? Check?
Because doesn't Cyclone DX just like, I'm looking at the JQ commands now, and it's like dot components bracket bracket. So it's just listing out all of the components and filtering ones that have licenses null. Like if your premise is, I can't have a component where the license is null, even without thinking about what that component is. If that's the problem, then the answer might be to describe the distribution doesn't have a license.
There you go. There are at least 3 packages inside that distroless container, and they have different licenses.
That's what I'm seeing too. It does actually identify the packages, but the JQ component is specifically say, it could be interpreted as, I want to use this command to show me if there are any components that don't have a license, I need to know about it, and I think that's a problem.
Well, and also just speaking more about the grant tool here, it wouldn't surface the problem that he's showing because he's doing the Cyclone DX output here. And because the operating system, we on the Syft side, that would be named as like the source, or it'd be different. It would not be in the packages list. Like that would not be a package that we have. We convert that, we upscale that into the package list when going to Cyclone DX, but it's not in the official Syft JSON as a package.
Right. We make it a Cyclone package because there are other types of containers, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but there are other types of containers that aren't Linux distributions. Like you might have a container called Hadoop 1.0, and there's no software in it called Hadoop 1.0, but the thing itself is Hadoop 1.0. Isn't that the reason why we decided to hoist up the top level, or at least one of the reasons of the component?
Yeah, that was to at least meet that demand of the spec. And also, Alan, on the grant output would show you if there was a package with no license as well. So all packages for the Syft SBOM are licensed. Like for every package in the Syft SBOM, it does have a license that's been recognized and it's displayed on that screen.
Right. Is it worth like replying to clarify what their expectations are? Like, I mean, I realize they've said license information is included. Why? Like,
Yeah, I'll write that response. I'm happy. To, yeah.
what? Just like,
No.
I'm
I
kidding.
like
I'm kidding.
because I agree that on like I agree with what he wrote that Apache 2 is what the Google distroless images are technically like licensed under. Like I asked an AI.
Well,
That's what their GitHub says.
no,
But
that's what the license for the
Yeah.
source is for what's in this distro. It doesn't necessarily mean the container is licensed like that.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess it doesn't transitively affect the output, like what this generates. But
Yeah,
It's
and
a
I
recipe,
figured-
isn't it?
But this code and the code from the GitHub project is not in this container.
no,
Yeah.
the container is the
It's like the
Right.
license for a Docker file, right?
Yeah.
Fun times. So,
Yeah, and I don't even see any like OCI labels on the image to like convey a license. I mean, it's like if it's somewhere they didn't put it in a good spot. So
I was looking at the manifest. I was looking at anything, any kind of label or anything that would be like definitively grab this when doing the source analysis, and there's nothing yet.
nice. Are we complete with that one?
yeah,
Good. We have 5 minutes left. Do you want to see something silly?
yeah.
Good
Okay.
silly.
So last week, I ran my usual bug roulette that I wrote as a shell script some time ago that we sometimes resort to when we want to find something to look at and something interesting. And it just randomly picks a bunch of bugs. And someone nerd sniped me, I think it was you, Chris, into making a web version of bug roulette. And
good
it
at
is
that.
terrible. This is a MVP, shall we say, and these are bugs from the various repositories. Yes, the triangle is in the wrong place. Yes, the colors are terrible. Yes, you can't read the text. I agree on all of these things. But if I press that
sure-
button,
I'm sure the data that's being sent back to that website is beautiful, though, right?
yeah, thanks.
As a developer who works on systems and backends, I love that the data shape is probably very clean. I don't care. The display, that's fine. We'll figure it out later.
Thanks.
It's as long as the MVP spins, that's the important part. So
I mean, it's brought us to an open issue.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it great? So I just thought I'd share that, like, you know, it is possible to nerd snipe me into coercing an AI to create a thing like this. Yeah, and every time
Okay,
I spin it.
I don't have it on this computer. It's on my local one. Next live stream, if we have time at the end, I'll do a show and tell because it's like this kind of thing, but instead of the AI serving it to a website where a human consumes it, you serve all the possibilities via like over sound. Like I saw two AI agents talking to each other, and they recognized that they were like AI agents, and instead of talking in like words to each other, they talked in sound waves to each other. And I'm trying to get them to talk back and forth over like a medium that humans cannot communicate. And so that will be the next thing to show off and show and tell, where
Okay.
you could to talk to each other to pick and do the agent stuff, and then one of them would give an answer about the best issue to like look at.
So you have reminded me once again, the prescient, my favorite film of all time, is this, the Forbin Project. And that exact thing happens when the Americans spin up a AI-based computer to operate all of their defense functions. And that computer knows that there is a Russian, a Soviet one as well. I mean, it's a long time ago, right? And it asks for connection, and they start talking to each other, and then they start talking in code. And the humans can't tell what the two things are talking about. And eventually bad things happen. But I would strongly recommend everyone watch this very prescient film from the 1970s, which has some parallels with AI today. Thanks for reminding me of that, Chris. I'm going to watch it again this weekend.
I haven't seen that one.
I strongly recommend everyone watch it. Right. Any final comments before we shut the door and kick everyone out? Good.
Put on your boot. Go for it.
I will click the mouse. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see you all probably not next week because I won't be here and I have other interesting things to do on that day. So we'll probably see you in 2 weeks' time, I would imagine. Thank you, everyone.
Hackathon. We have to hear about the
Yeah.
hackathon.
See you all again soon. Ta-da.
Cheers.
Bye.